Hey guys, welcome back to the Cult Classic Kid Show, and today we're talking about Star Wars and, well, Kotaku having yet another really trash take. And, well, I got my Star Wars tee for this one, and whenever I wear something Star Wars related, it's usually representative of better times, because modern day Star Wars is simply a shell of its former self, but yet Disney and these companies keep pumping out more and more Star Wars. And here we go, Kotaku with yet another trash article, whining and complaining, and obviously their virtue signal since it's June with their little rainbow up top, because they just can't help themselves. Everything is a virtue signal, everything is racist, everything is sexist, and they must call it all out, right? But they continue with the article saying Star Wars Outlaws backlash proves we need more women protagonists, because there totally isn't already enough. They didn't just show a whole Microsoft showcase that had a F-ton of female protagonists. Some I would rather die than play as because of how horrid they look. But they said a woman of color is the lead in Microsoft's upcoming open world Star Wars game, and it doesn't matter if they're interesting, it doesn't matter if they're unique, original. It's just that, well, this character doesn't have a penis, and the character's skin color is darker than that of white skin tone. So that's really all that matters here. That is why this person must run with their keyboard warrior ways to defend this game. And let's just take a look at the clown writing this garbage article. And to no surprise, it's an obnoxious looking white woman. Oh my God, 9 times out of 10. And they are a senior editor at Kotaku, a so-called FPS freak, a cat rescuer, spritz drinker. So it is a, wine drinking white cat mom. Yes, but and the 1/4 Italian in me, since they're definitely more than 30% Italian, the 1/4 Italian in me is absolutely screaming in agony, knowing that this person is a part of 1/4 of my culture. But anyway, they continue on. Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game is one of the most hyped titles to come out of Summer Game Fest 2023, with its GTA-esque gameplay, intriguing players. GTA-esque, that's what you got from that? That's a bit of a reach. I mean, I guess there's a little tiny bit of that. It's like, what is it? Because it's sort of like a sandbox. It just anything that's a sandbox is automatically GTA-esque. That's really a tough sell there. And it's sexy droid turning them on. What? Open world Star Wars game looks cool, but the droid is hotter, fans say. And this is what we find attractive in modern day. And people say everyone is sane. Everyone is sane. After Star Wars Outlaws was revealed during the Microsoft showcase, some Gamergate adjacent gamers, because the people that hate Gamergate the most are the ones that always want to reference it every chance they get. It's almost like they claim to hate it, but they also just don't want it to die. Took issue with its protagonist, a woman of color named Jay Vess, portrayed by Venezuelan-born actor Humberly Gonzalez. And it's weird because this person, at times they would sound Hispanic, and then other times they would sound like a white girl. Very, at least, inconsistent from what my ears could tell. Then again, my ears aren't the best, so that's what I got when I did watch the gameplay showcase from this voice actress. And some big Ubisoft to let them switch to a male character. And I don't really see the problem with that, especially when it's a new character. And mind you, I was about to say original, but I can't even say that. It would be lying between my teeth, because, well, this is literally a Han Solo ripoff. That's the best way to describe this character. Sad to say, but that's just the case. We aren't dealing with creators that are original in the gaming space when it comes to these sorts of games. They just tend to take male characters and slap a pussy on them. That's just sadly what it is. As they've waited years for an open world Star Wars game that couldn't bear the thought of navigating through it as a woman. And the majority of people that are going to play this game are going to be men. So I can understand why dudes would want to play as dudes. I mean, that's not wrong, especially in a space that dudes tend to play games more than women do, at least in the console space. So that there's nothing wrong with that, especially when it's a character that isn't really important to Star Wars narrative. It's not like you got Han Solo or Princess Leia to play as in the game. I think that dudes would be happy if a lore respecting Princess Leia video game was made, based on extended canon and whatnot. I think a lot of dudes wouldn't mind that. It just depends on the character. This character is inessential to Star Wars, as far as I can tell. So, what's the big deal with wanting that? I mean, a lot of people love Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You got to choose to play as a female protagonist or a male protagonist. It was cool that they were given the option. Ubisoft is kind of known for that. So, what's the big deal? I played as the female protagonist in Odyssey, and I thought that it was a good fit. And some of my male buddies decided to play as the male protagonist. Some even chose to play as the female protagonist. What is wrong with giving people the option, especially with unimportant, inessential characters? There's nothing wrong with that. Instead, a person like this chooses to make it wrong. And instead of giving the consumer what they want, they demand for companies to double and triple down just because, well, a fucking person with a penis wants to play as someone else with a penis. Well, we must give them the vagina. Like, what? This is such a dumb argument. Others lamented the lack of lightsabers and men and said no thanks to the concept of anything else. And I don't blame people for saying no to the concept. Clearly, this is a wannabe Han Solo, so instantaneously, it's like, well, I'd rather play as the original character Han Solo and live out Han Solo's life as Han Solo, not as a gender-bent character of Han Solo. Meanwhile, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is right there, brand new and playable, and featuring a male protagonist. The difference between this game and Jedi Survivor is Jedi Survivor's main protagonist is an original character, whereas this is a ripoff of a long-standing franchise character that you simply gender bent. So yeah, people are going to be like, well, why not just play as Han instead? Duh. But Jay Vess represents a much larger issue within gaming and Star Wars universe. Her role is a crucial one. Her role is definitely not a crucial one. People feel as though her character is very interchangeable, so why not give them the interchangeable character? And I completely agree with that. But there is an issue within gaming and the Star Wars universe, and literally they've pushed this whole the Force is female with Star Wars, and it's very unrepresentative of basically what Star Wars is. They haven't been able to push that in an accurate way at all, in a way that is pleasing to long-standing Star Wars franchise fans. That's on Disney's fault. And the issue with gaming is that, well, you have characters that people don't want to play as. And if that's the case, guess what? They're not going to play as them. That's really that simple. And they continue, Star Wars, video games, and women. Star Wars Outlaws falls into one of the more unfortunate center rings on the Venn diagram of bad actors, gamers, and Star Wars fans. So yeah, the people that are saying, yeah, we would rather have another character, or they're just bad. They're just bad people, bad actors, and they're gamers and Star Wars fans. Clearly, you chose to hate the fans, the Star Wars fans in particular, that have rejected Disney Star Wars. That's clearly where you stand. So at this point, it's just, we know exactly what you're going to say, how you're going to be, and how vitriolic you are towards fans that have spoken out and rejected having the canon of Star Wars being completely destroyed by Disney for social political purposes. They continue, this is a franchise still reeling from the Mary Sue allegations. You mean the fact that Rey is a Mary Sue, because that's essentially what she was. And general hatred thrown at Rey. Rey is just a terrible character. A absolute garbage Mary Sue character. You can't run away from that. You may not like it, but it is what it is. They said the lead in the sequel trilogy. And as mentioned, the vestiges of the Gamergate hate campaign lingers throughout gamer culture. As such, the backlash should be expected, even if it is exhausting. Well, you're literally trying to downplay the consumer and what the consumer wants. At the end of the day, the reason why video games... Let's just make it real. Video games are a form of entertainment. They are not a necessity. People do not need video games to live. If you want to act all excessive and say that you do, well, you're lying and you're being over the top. But it is a piece of entertainment. It is not a necessity of your life. It's not food. It's not water. It's not shelter. It is simply a getaway from the average everyday world that we live in when we do have the free time to engage in it. So, based upon this, it is in the best interest of the people that are making these video games to actually make something that the consumer, the gamer, wants to actually put their money toward. And if you don't do that, well, you fail. And when you fail, then you're crying that you're going out of business or there's layoffs. So in a space that is not a necessity, being entertainment, it is best to give the consumer what they want. Duh. They say, aside from Battlefront 2, which features Iden Versio and its main protagonist through, though there are missions where you play as Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith, an expansion to Dark Forces 2 that features Mara Jade as its star, and Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, which has 80 Gallia and its lead, though it takes place almost entirely in the cockpit of a ship. There are no other Star Wars games that lock you in as a female character. And it's like, if you have like an essential female character, and this game follows, Star Wars extended universe canon, I don't see why people would be opposed to it. But this is an inessential character that could easily be gender bent to fit the player. And for me, it's like sometimes I want to play as a chick and sometimes I want to play as a dude. It really just depends on what they look like, what they sound like, stuff like that. And for me, it's like I would prefer the choice, especially for inessential characters. So why not provide that choice, especially to people who would predominantly be buying this game, which is likely more male than female. But there are plenty of them that make you play as male character, from the wildly popular Star Wars Jedi games, the Force Unleashed series, and all the movie tie-ins in between, where essentially you play as the main characters of the movie tie-ins. Duh. They let you choose between male and female characters. See? Yes, choice! Something that's nice to have. The concept of choice. You're literally trying to fight against the concept of choice, you dumb bitch. Whether it's the LEGO games, a handful of Star Wars Episode 1 spin-off games, or Knights of the Old Republic and other MMOs, as you can imagine, the choice often keeps misogynists quiet. Because the gaming industry is mostly male. Now, if you're gonna count freaking free-to-play games and phone games, that's predominant, like that has a lot of women in it. And while there are a lot more women in the gaming space than when I started gaming back in the late 90s, it is still mostly male. I can go in any fucking lobby of any game, and guess what? More often than not, I'm the only female present. That is just always, that is what it is on that front. Sometimes I'll come across another woman and that's cool, but more often than not, every lobby that you step into is predominantly male. That's just what it is. People want to ignore it, but that's just the reality. But K-Vess is the female version of many Star Wars characters. A rogue, a rebel, a scoundrel, a rapscallion. Basically, she's Han Solo, but female. She could easily step into Han Solo or Cassian Andor's boots. Literally what I'm saying, man. She got an adorable companion creature. The adorable companion creature acts like a cat, but has a spider head. I think it was kind of creepy, if I'm completely honest. Just like Jedi Survivor Cal Cassius, and she's got that smirky sass that makes so many other Star Wars scumbags so lovable. Yeah, you're literally just sitting here describing more Han Solo stuff. On paper, she's the perfect lead for an open world game about outlaws. It's just the fact that she's a she that's the problem. No, it's the fact that she's a ripoff of a well-known Star Wars character, bitch. Like, what is there so hard to get? You literally said it yourself. They continue on. Women in games at Ubisoft and beyond. Though it's unsurprising that a woman-led game would receive backlash even now, this particular backlash is largely due to the lack of female protagonists across modern gaming. The lack of female protagonists. That is insane. There is definitely a lot of female protagonists, and a lot of them, in my personal opinion, as a female myself, a lot of them are genuinely shit. You know why? Because good female protagonists, like Bayonetta, are constantly criticized by people such as this. Interesting female protagonists. Apparently, that's not allowed to be a thing. Women that choose to actually have a personality, that tends to not be a thing. Instead, they must, a lot of praised female protagonists, the female tends to have to be a blank slate, really brolic or even fat. It's just very, very strange, the type of female protagonist that people such as this tend to praise. It's always something strange and out of the ordinary and is not very feminine. And I'm not a feminine female by any means, but I don't expect, all female protagonists to be shitty versions of non-feminine women, okay? I'd like to think I at least have a personality. Most of these, like, female protagonists in video games have no personality, are completely uninteresting, and honestly would probably be better off if they were men. More often than not, besides someone like Bayonetta, because, well, she's absolutely amazing badass. I'd say, I like to call her Japanese Catwoman. That seems to be the best way to describe her. Think of every game that has won Game of the Year at Jeff Keighley's Game Awards. Only 2 of them featured female protagonists, and they both shared a bill with men. The Last of Us Part 2 and It Takes Two. Maybe because the other options were just not that good. The others either had male protagonists like God of War, Sekiro, and The Witcher 3, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or they had characters you could completely customize, like Elden Ring and Dragon Age Inquisition. And it's like they even hate games that you literally can choose who you want to be. It's amazing. In an age where it's like, it's pushed to be so self-obsessed, you would think that individuals like this would choose to push for games that the actual user gets to depict themselves or depict whoever they want to be. But apparently, no, that's problematic. It must be a woman. It must have a JJ. That's all that matters here. This is how small brain individuals like this are. Aside from the Horizon series, which got backlash for giving protagonist Aloy realistic peach fuzz, and the fact that she's ugly. I don't want to play as an ugly character. That's literally what she is. She's fucking ugly. She's boring. She's uninteresting. There's nothing particularly intriguing about Aloy as a character. And matter of fact, the way that her character is introduced, they do it in such a poor way to get you to try and care about her character in the most, well, she was bullied as a little kid and an outcast, and you should care about her in the most PG, boring, childish way possible. Of course, there is nothing to like about an Aloy, sad to say. Because men don't know everyone has a thin layer of hair covering their entire bodies. You'd be hard-pressed to find a AAA game led entirely singularly by a woman. Lara Croft series, sure. But even she had to go through a character rework to differentiate herself from her polygon-tittied 90s counterpart. And her character was lesser because of it. They dumbed down anything interesting about Lara, if it be her physical features, her personality. Everything about remake Lara is simply dumbed down and less interesting. And I actually like the reboot Tomb Raider franchise, particularly the first game. The second and third game, I could take or leave. And that's the only reason why I enjoy it, is particularly because of the gameplay. But yes, Lara Croft is absolutely boring in those games. And Metroid Prime Remaster Samus is almost always in full suit and armor. It's easy to forget that that her franchise is led by a woman. It's not easy to forget, because no matter what, Metroid could be, gone for many years, and it has been gone for many years in some instances up until recently. But people know Samus, and they will always know Samus is a woman. And if you don't happen to know, you'd be quickly trolled. Okay, it's kind of like when people accidentally call Link from The Legend of Zelda, when they accidentally call Link Zelda, people tend to immediately get trolled for, even if it was by accident, calling him Zelda. Ubisoft has historically had its own problem with centering women protagonists, as well as a sordid trail of sexual misconduct claims directed at its executives, because, well, video game issue just as bad as real life sexual misconduct issues. Huh? As Polygon reported back in 2014, the company abandoned female protagonists in Assassin's Creed Unity, essentially saying that they weren't worth the additional work. It's double the animations, it's double the voices, all the stuff, and double the visual assets. Then creative director Alex Amendiso told Polygon. And you're literally saying that that's a problem, but essentially it's likely that the same thing is happening now with this game, but in reverse, and that's okay for you. But they continue, especially because we had to customize assassins. It was really a lot of extra production work. And Bloomberg's Jason Schreier detailed back in July of 2020 Ubisoft's report issues with how it treats women employees bled into the inability to center female protagonists. Really? Huh? Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Origin, and Odyssey were all meant to be heavily featured women leads. Odyssey literally gives you the choice between male, and female was honestly the better choice, judging by the voice acting. But as their production advanced, their roles shrank. With Odyssey, Schreier reported that the team originally proposed making the sister the only playable character, according to 4 people who were working on the game, until they were told that wasn't an option. And that's completely fine. You know why? Because you gave the player the choice to choose between male or female. There's nothing wrong with giving the player the choice. So, but to this person, they want to have this power over you. They want to laugh at you because, well, you're not getting what you want as the consumer. It's really that mentally deranged. It's really that simple-minded. They just simply do not want you to have what you want, even though you'll be paying for this game if you so choose to. This person probably won't be buying the game. They'll be given a free copy, like all these other reviewers and such for all these other websites. So they have no stake in it. This is why people like this, Alyssa, whatever her name is, they don't matter. You know why? Because you don't buy these fucking games. The consumer is saying, well, I feel like I would enjoy this game maybe if I played as a male. And to be honest with you, how boring the female protagonist is, please make a male protagonist instead, so maybe I have a choice. And if it's between 2 boring protagonists, I mean, it is what it is on that front, but this character doesn't really seem essential to the plot at all. They're just a knockoff Han Solo, so why don't you give people what they want? Oh wait, you don't want to pay for that, right? But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this garbage article. If you can, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me over on Twitch, Twitter, or Kick if you'd like to continue the conversation. And guys, well, I'll be at I'm out. Peace.